Trump just spoke at a Bitcoin conference, and this is absolutely huge for the price of Bitcoin. I want to show you where I think we could go if we're going to be skyrocketing from here, setting brand new all-time highs, or if we're going to be looking at a dip. And actually, very interestingly, during the stream of this conference, which started around over here, I think, we saw Bitcoin absolutely dump and then skyrocket right after his speech ended, which was very, very interesting. There is so much to unpack. We're going to be watching this. I'm going to be fact-checking this because, believe it or not, there were some lies, there were some truths as well. We're going to be covering everything in this video. I'm going to be showing you a little bit of what Trump did during his previous administration, what he might do in the future, because people do change, and I'm going to be covering a whole lot more with you in this one. So if you're excited for it, do me a favor and smash up those likes, double check that you are subscribed, and while you are down there smashing that subscribe button, double check that you have taken advantage of our phenomenal offers. Blowfin is going to give you thousands of dollars to trade with after you sign up and start trading. With that money they give you, you can make losses, make profits, doesn't matter. If you make any profits, you can withdraw the gains that you've made with their free money, and always be mindful of your country's local regulations, because some countries don't actually allow these exchanges. So check them out. Huge bonuses if you're allowed to. Super cool. Thank you for the love. And before we actually go into this and start watching this live stream, because there's so much to unpack here, I want to show you something that happened while Trump was in office. You guys who've been watching me for a while, those of you that have been subscribing, are going to know that I'm very vocal about presidents and their effect on US presidents specifically, and their effect on crypto. And my stance has always been that it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't actually make a difference. It doesn't actually change things particularly much. Depending on who's president. And you're going to see a lot of evidence in this video. The first thing I want to show you now, Trump was, by the way, this speech was hilarious. I mean, he really researched it. He said everything that a Bitcoin lover would want to know. I mean, from the philosophical aspect, from the, hodl to the moon aspect, he fucking hit every single nail. It was very interesting to watch. He clearly didn't believe or even understand most of what he was saying, I think, especially the more meme stuff. He clearly thought that it was just a bunch of children playing, which it sort of is. I can give him that. I can understand from his position why he would say that. But back in 2019, he had a very different stance. He wrote on Twitter, "I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptos, which are not money and whose value are highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and illegal activity," just like the dollar, of course. He tweeted this at Facebook's Libra virtual currency, news drama. So he was also taking shots at that. And later on, just like wine, the way this tweet ages, "We only have one real currency in the USA. It is stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It is by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and it always will stay that way. It is called the US dollar." So clearly very bullish on his own dollar, assuming he would win that next term. That's a whole other discussion, which I know a lot of people disagree with each other on. But his core stance was firmly against Bitcoin. It's not all, though. There is more to this. Trump held the administration that actually saw some of the biggest kind of regulation of crypto coming in. There were new AML requirements that came in, which you kind of understand, to be honest. You can definitely understand where this is coming from, but some of it was just downright fucking weird. They wanted information on transfers that were honestly relatively small, $1,000, $600. There was there was so much discourse in so many different areas while Trump was president, and how much of this was he actually responsible for? How much of this actually went all the way up to his table while he was president? I don't know, so I don't want to pin this on him. But this did happen during his administration. His administration was not good to crypto. Biden's administration was arguably even worse. But I do think that it's worth just kind of grounding ourselves with a couple of those facts, because we need to know who we're talking about. We're not talking about somebody that has loved Bitcoin since the beginning, or has understood Bitcoin since the beginning, or has even been factually correct about Bitcoin since the beginning. Well, factually correct is a bit of a different word for what I'm looking for, but certainly not super accurate, because a sentence like this is just silly when you've got the US dollar, okay? So, we're not going to spend too much more time on that. But very, very important. Let's get into this, though, and kind of see what he's talking about.
In your infancy, I can see it happening. In just 15 years, Bitcoin has gone from merely an idea posted anonymously on an internet message board to...
You see what I'm saying when I said that he's hitting the notes perfectly? He's talking about the Bitcoin forums from Satoshi Nakamoto way back in like 2008.
The 9th most valuable asset anywhere in the world. Can you believe that? Is that right? That's a big deal. Valuable asset posted anonymously on an internet message board to being the 9th most valuable asset anywhere in the world. Can you believe that? Is that
So
right?
he's saying that Bitcoin became the 9th most valuable asset in the world. And actually, if you just go ahead and type into Google market cap of everything, you get this really interesting website here, companiesmarketcap.com. And it shows you the largest assets by market cap. You've got gold up here worth $16 trillion in total. That means the price of gold versus how many ounces there are that we know of, I guess. Same for Apple, $3.3 trillion valuation. Bitcoin all the way down here at 1.35 and silver at 1.58. So Bitcoin's actually very close to overtaking silver here, which is absolutely fantastic in terms of showing Bitcoin's, I don't know, size and impact on the global stage. So much of what Trump says, as we predict, is about kind of bringing Bitcoin into the US sphere and making it much more relevant for America and so on. But super, super cool indeed to be seeing that right there, 1.35 trillion compared to 1.6. So Bitcoin's very close to overtaking silver, about 10 to 20% away, which I think is super, super cool. Let's continue on. There's a lot more to go through. The beginning that I've kind of skipped is just him congratulating himself and others, and we're going to skip a lot more. But I do have a couple specifics that I'd want to highlight with you as well, and we'll get to those in just a second.
That's a big deal. Think of that. It's already bigger than ExxonMobil. Soon it will be surpassing the entire market cap of silver. It's not bad. How about gold? How about gold? Let's go gold.
He's talking about Bitcoin lapping gold. That's like 10x
based
away.
on the way it's going now, it could very well be a possibility. There's never been anything like it, and I don't think you've ever seen anything like it. And most people have no idea what the hell it is. You know that, right? So what happens when they figure it out? That's going to really be something. Bitcoin is not just a marvel of technology. As you know, it's a miracle of cooperation and human achievement. A lot of relationships that are formed. I just did a meeting, a roundtable with a lot of the leaders, and it's amazing. There's a great camaraderie. It's really interesting. Obviously there's competition, but there's a relationship, there's a friendship that's developed with a lot of these people.
A lot of it's just kind of, a lot of it's just Trump telling people about it, the situation, the state of affairs.
Right,
very little of this actually relates back to what Trump will do, but some of it is very, very interesting. There's one part that we're going to be coming up to in just a sec, which you're going to love.
And we really were the freest and the most ambitious, most dynamic nation ever to exist on Earth, and we're going to get that back again because we're not there now. We're a nation in decline. You know it, we know it, doesn't sound nice, but it's okay because we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back fast. Right now it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what's happened. Even today when you look at what we just said. China will, other countries will, they'll dominate, and we cannot let China dominate. They are making too much progress as it is, and we want them to be successful. I don't want China to be successful.
So here he's going to be talking about China taking Bitcoin's industries and how the industry of Bitcoin and how the US is going to try and claw that back.
But
Not a whole lot of policy yet, though.
That's what's going to happen. I want the United States to be first in technology, first in science, first in manufacturing, first in artificial intelligence, and first in space. At MIT, my uncle.
Wow, they are ruthless with ads today. I should be signed in, but we'll let this go ahead.
Be a professor in the academic world and in the world of MIT, so I understand a lot of highly intelligent. America's destiny is to lead our rivals in everything and to surrender our industries to no one. Some of you are involved with AI, but you also have the same thing. You need a thing called electricity. You need a lot of electricity. AI needs to be really dominant, and China can do it much easier. We have environmental impacts. We'll be using fossil fuel to make electricity because we're going to have to. We'll be using nuclear. We'll be doing it in an environmentally friendly way. But we will be creating so much electricity that you'll be saying, please, please, President, we don't want any more electricity. We can't stand it. You'll be begging me, no more electricity, sir. We have enough. We have enough. In the Midwest, they just opened, it was very interesting, they just opened up 2 chargers, a charger for the
So this is particularly interesting because one of Trump's big claims is that he's going to be working with electricity costs and so on just to make it more accessible, cheaper and so on, to make the Bitcoin mining in the country more accessible. And he actually specifically made a big claim here. He said low energy costs will make the USA the world's Bitcoin mining hub. So very, very firm on the USA dominating the Bitcoin market sphere, which is particularly interesting because, as we know, and there's, it's not super easy to get the information on this anymore because of, how things get covered up over time. But a lot of the Bitcoin mining happens in places where electricity is number one, super, super cheap, but also where cooling is available. Obviously, computer devices, when they work a lot, they get hot. You need to cool them down, and that costs a lot of money. So there's 2 big costs, kind of still is electricity, of course. So a lot of kind of big miners around the world are deep inside of caves that are super, super cold. So there's a couple things that you need to be very competitive with Bitcoin mining, but of course low energy is a big start. Some super interesting stuff he mentioned actually later on, and he's going to be talking about how the US government is actually one of the largest holders of crypto. They own 210,000 Bitcoin owned by the federal government. There could be more that we don't know about, but that is 1% of Bitcoin's total supply, so that's super, super cool. We'll let him carry on here, though.
Plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way, and that's what's going to happen. No, you're going to be very happy with me.
This is what I'm saying. This is brilliant. Like, not only is he talking about making, the USA very competitive for mining and stuff like that, but also just going to the moon. He is literally quoting us. He's, his campaign team has been reading Twitter, reading Reddit, and all of the other places. It gets worse, Telegram, Discord, and so on. And they are quoting us. Trump is saying our words. It is quite something to watch.
You're going to be so happy. You're going to say he's the greatest guy. That's why I'm proud to be the first major party nominee in American history to accept donations in Bitcoin and crypto.
Dude's shilling himself. We all got to shill sometimes. I understand, mate. I understand.
They don't understand it. They are blocking your path. They're blocking your way. But I've made it a lot easier for you because the SEC has been very, very tough on you. And now they see that you've embraced me. All of a sudden, people that were under investigation, they're being let go. They say, oh, no, we don't want to do that. We love crypto.
This is actually 100% true. So this is where things get really interesting. You're going to love what he says next. This is probably going to be the best part of the video. Smash up likes if you're excited for that. He is 100% correct here. What actually happened is true. The SEC was investigating a bunch of different people, and they've started to drop a lot of those cases over the last few months. They've lost a lot of power. They've been losing court cases. Like, things have been not going in the SEC's way, the way they would have preferred recently, which I think is super, super interesting because, to me, this looks like it is quite obvious that this is in the lead up to the election. Basically, everybody can see it. I think the timing is quite convenient. The SEC starts kind of easing up on things to keep the incumbent government, kind of staying. So, that's an interesting perspective here, and he seems 100% right about it.
Tell you, if they win this election, every one of you will be gone. They will be vicious. They will be ruthless. They will do things that you wouldn't believe. But right now, because of me, they're leaving you alone. So please say thank you, President Trump. Thank you very much.
Obviously, the most humble man we know.
And the reason they're doing that is, I've heard from some of your great geniuses that talk to me about this subject. I've heard from Vivek. 175 million people in some form are involved with this world of crypto and Bitcoin and all of the others. 175 million. So when they heard that, they said, let's be nice to them, at least until after the election. So I've taken a lot of pressure off a lot of people. A lot of people are very happy today that about 3 months ago weren't so thrilled. For 3.5 years, is that right? Look, he just said that's right. And you know it's right. For 3.5 years, the current administration has waged a war on crypto and Bitcoin like nobody's ever seen before. For those who work in this industry, they target your banks, they choke off your financial services. Have people seen that? Yes? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually true. I mean, a lot of this stuff did happen under the Biden government. I wouldn't necessarily say that they waged the war. I would say that the war was probably waged more likely by Obama or Trump himself, because a lot of the same stuff that he's describing was actually happening under his government. And we got to keep in mind that the 2016 to 2020 era, which is when Trump basically was president, 2017 to 21, based on when he was in office, this was a time where, banks still were not happy with Bitcoin and stuff like that. I mean, if you were caught buying Bitcoin and stuff by your bank, you'd have a problem in a lot of places in the world. In the UK, where I used to live, in America, so on. Very, very much the case. Still the case. It was the case when Trump was president. This is fact. We know this super. You know this. And it got worse under Biden. So, sort of true, not really.
Let your hands up. They block ordinary Americans from transferring money to your exchanges. They slander you as criminals, but that happened to me too because I said the election was rigged. It should be no surprise that these same totalitarians are hell-bent on crushing crypto and obliterating, and that's what they want to do, and that's what they are stated. They're there right now. You have the SEC, you know what they're doing, obliterating Bitcoin. The reason could not be more clear because Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control. The Biden-Harris administration's repression of crypto and Bitcoin is wrong.
So that is, I mean, again, he's just hitting the notes. He's saying it perfectly. Bitcoin stands for freedom, and all that stuff. So clear. Is that why the SEC is regulating it into the ground? I don't know. I don't think it's that obvious. I think, on the surface, yes, probably. I think, many governments would be unhappy with that. But SEC specifically, I think, it's also just that they've got a very, long track record of, they see something gets big, they want their fingers in it, they want deep control of it. It's the United States. They regulate things. So I think both sides are true. I think that, a large, perhaps even overwhelming majority of the force against crypto is because of what crypto stands for. But, you know, I'm saying that to you guys as Bitcoin YouTube viewers. I think if I was having a conversation with any normal person who wouldn't be so offended, I'd probably be more inclined to tell them that, you know, it's probably closer to 50-50. So that's actually how I feel about that.
I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC Chairman.
That is something that got a big smile on my face.
I didn't know he was that unpopular. Well, I didn't know he was that unpopular. Let me say it again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa.
And of course, I promised you I wouldn't make it biased, but that alone would get my vote. But yes, Gary Gensler is the head of the SEC. He is specifically one of the villains in the crypto space. If we have, you know, such a thing, if we have villains, you know, Gary Gensler would be one of them. A lot of people don't like him. It's very understandable why. I personally don't like him. I think his policies have been horrible. I think he's been horrible in office. And many of the crypto people definitely would have wanted Gary out, and Trump is repeating that back. In fact, it was very, very interesting. I'm going to show you something super cool here. I promise you could go back and check this yourself. At the very minute that he said he was going to fire Gary Gensler, that was probably about this minute. When he said it again, it was this minute. It was absolutely hilarious. It was very interesting to watch. That Bitcoin started to pump immediately after he said he was going to fire Gary Gensler, and then pumped even harder the second time. You know, it was just very, very interesting to watch how that would go for the Bitcoin price here. Yeah, he loves that. Look at that smile.
I will appoint a new SEC chairman who believes America should build the future, not block the future, which is what they're doing. And come up.
So this is huge. I mean, and actually, I'll let him speak. But what he's going to say next about, you know, accounts and everything, big changes, right? A better leadership that, like he says, doesn't want to block things off, but instead wants to build. Again, dude was president before. Did he do it? I don't know. So, you know, I mean, you really got to look at this very, very carefully. You know, and I think assess prior track records as well. But like I said, you know, people change. It could just be that, you know, a lot has changed since Trump became president 8 years ago. Could it be the case that, you know, now he's kind of come around and he's going to be doing things a little bit better? I don't know, but what he's saying here, big claim. If it actually happens, different thing altogether, and it would be very, very good if it did happen.
Too unclear and too tough as Bitcoin jobs and businesses flee to other countries because America's laws are too unclear and too tough and too angry and too stiff. We will keep each and every Bitcoin job in the United States of America. That's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely huge, right? Everybody knows that. I mean, it's so interesting. Like, I'm looking at this from the Dubai perspective, and, you know, I mean, the way America as a country just gets dismissed in any Bitcoin conversation is quite interesting. You know, you'll see big powerhouses from Asia and so on that are just so involved at the forefront, at the pinnacle of everything going on, and then an American enters the room and it's like, oh, he probably doesn't do much. Maybe an NFT collection. You know what I mean? I'm not kidding. It's literally kind of how it'd go. You know, and I do think that a big part of that is because of just how horrible they've been with dealing with it. To be honest, I think one of the only reasons America holds any kind of standing in the Bitcoin space is just because it's a rich country and there's a lot of people in it. But, you know, other than that, there's nothing uniquely good about America with regards to crypto. And I think it is, yeah, one of the big weak points that the USA has for this industry.
Upon taking office, I will immediately appoint a Bitcoin and Crypto Presidential Advisory Council.
There you go.
Would anybody like to be on that particular council? Please raise your hand.
Again, it's so interesting because the way he's talking to the Bitcoin crowd here, it's like very much to just rile them up. I mean, he understands how, you know, even, what's the word, like cult-like Bitcoin, you know, holders can be. We can be very cult-like, and he's kind of, you know, pandering to all of that and riling everybody up, which I think is fantastic. If he does create that kind of council, that could be interesting. We'll see how that goes. You know, it's going to depend on who kind of gets chosen, but it's clear that, you know, he is paying a little bit more attention. And I think the bottom line, honestly, one of the best things that could happen to America, and it's already happened, is that other countries are just more competitive than America. They take that talent, they take that money, they take that power, and then America's like, oh yeah, we probably should have paid a bit more attention. I think that's why Democrats and Republicans are both giving crypto a little bit more attention in this election cycle as well. Not only that, but also just, you know, a lot of people hold crypto now, even just a little bit. A lot of people hold it.
Their task will be to design transparent regulatory guidance for the benefit of the entire industry, and they will get it done in 100 days. We will have regulations, but from now on, the rules will be written by people who love your industry, not hate your industry. People
We got a big promise there for the first 100 days. We'll have to see how that goes.
that want to make it clear and simple, straightforward and fair. People that want to see your industry thrive, not dive. Next, I will immediately order the Treasury Department and other federal agencies to cease and desist all steps necessary, because, you know, there's a thing going on in your industry. They want to move the creation of a central bank digital currency. It's over, forget it. CBDC, there will never be a CBDC while I'm President of the United States. And I will always defend the right to self-custody.
I mean, this is brilliant. Honestly, this is probably my favorite part of the speech. He's saying no CBDC while he's president. First of all, if he's elected, he'll only be president until 2028, 2029. So I don't think anyone's expecting CBDC that quickly. I think that if we do get CBDCs, it's going to be happening in the 2030s. And I think it's very possible. So within his Trump presidency, I believe him, but I just don't think that it says much. It's going to depend more on who's president after him. Who knows? Maybe someone else with their head screwed on. But yes, obviously we don't want CBDCs. I'm not going to be going into that too much. But as we know, if governments can control your money like Canada, they can block your money like Canada if you have the wrong political opinions. So, that can get pretty dangerous. CBDCs are, very, very much disliked across the Bitcoin community, saying that it's not going to happen. I believe it, but it doesn't really mean much either, because I don't really think it was going to happen by 28 anyway.
Self-custody. You're going to have a great industry.
This is big. Let me rewind this.
CBDC while I'm President of the United States.
Take a look at this.
And I will always defend the right to self-custody.
That's huge. That's huge, because one of the big concerns that Bitcoin holders rightfully have is that, the U.S. government seized gold, by the way. I mean, many people don't even know this, but U.S. government gold seizure, just type this in, and you'll see that they actually seized gold, by giving them by giving U.S. citizens a kind of set price that they have to sell their gold at, and if they don't, they're breaking the law. And that was to prop up the US dollar. So I believe this was actually in the 50s. I don't know why. Maybe this actually in the 30s. But when we talk about custody, the US government was like, yeah, what does that mean? We don't care. Freest country in the world, of course. So for him to say that he respects that right to self-custody, that's a big deal for Bitcoin. That's honestly the cornerstone of crypto. And it's, I think, one of the big risks from a regulatory standpoint is any government in the world can just turn around one day and be like, you need to give us your Bitcoin, and if you don't, you're breaking the law, and you have to sell it to us at a price of $40,000, and you don't have any negotiation power on that. Like, that is what the government did with gold, and so to say this, I think, is actually a big deal.
Self-custody. You're going to have a great industry. You're going to have a great industry, and we're going to be fuel for your industry, not demolish your industry. America will once again be a nation that protects property rights, privacy, freedom of transaction, freedom of association, and freedom of speech. We're going to change we're going to go back to the old days when we were a nation that was building, not a nation that was eating itself alive from within. As part of our effort to provide regulatory clarity, we will create a framework to enable the safe and responsible expansion of stable coins. Do you know what a stable coin is? Does anybody know? Please raise your hand. Allowing us to extend the dominance of the US dollar to new frontiers all around the world. America will be richer, the world will be better, and there will be billions and billions of people brought into crypto economy and storing their savings in Bitcoin. So that's the way it is. That's pretty much the way it is.
I mean, this is very interesting. If Trump actually thinks that things are going to be going in this particular direction, then, that's cool. I'm all for it. Again, not really saying a whole lot on policy, though.
Those who say that Bitcoin is a threat to the dollar have the story exactly backwards. I believe it is exactly backwards. Bitcoin is not threatening the dollar. The behavior of the current U.S. government is really threatening the dollar.
This is interesting, right? Because this is just false. Bitcoin was created to threaten the dollar. That was its primary objective. It was created to threaten every world government currency. So, I don't believe that to be true. Obviously the second part that the U.S. government is destroying it, yes, that's 100% correct. But I think Trump is implying that the dollar and Bitcoin can coexist. It can't. They can't. The only way that they can both coexist is if one of them is failing. So far, that's been Bitcoin. So far, since Bitcoin's inception, up until, I'd say probably 2017 was the day that it really died, December 2017. Bitcoin stopped kind of fulfilling its objective, or even being on track to do so, because it became very institutionalized. It became controlled by people who are not going to allow Bitcoin to be a free sovereign currency. I think that's been very, very clear for a few years now, at least for a few years. And so, for Trump to imply that the dollar and Bitcoin can coexist, one of them has to be dying or failing at its root purpose. And so far it has been Bitcoin. That hasn't been free sovereign money. It's now just being used primarily as an investment vehicle, right? And it's been that since the beginning. The argument is that, eventually Bitcoin is going to stabilize and everyone's going to use it to spend money. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, it's probably well over 10 years away at this point. But I think that is an interesting one to kind of, just add something into.
Listen to these numbers. As a result, during my 4 years in office, Bitcoin surged by 3,900%, from $898 the day I took office to $35,900 the day I left. That was the biggest jump, I guess, in just about any industry.
So we're going to fact check that in just a second.
Just after 3.5 years of Biden and Harris, adjusted for inflation, Bitcoin is up 50%. Now, 50% sounds good, but not...
Okay, so we're going to fact check those two figures. This is obviously very, very interesting. And if we go ahead and, well, first of all, what did Trump say? He said that since he took office up until when he left, Bitcoin went up by 3,900%. He's saying that Biden, since he entered office, Bitcoin went up by 50% adjusted for inflation. So first of all, let's look at Biden. And of course, Biden took office on the 20th of January, 2021. And up to today, we are up by about 90%. And Trump did say that adjusted for inflation, that was a 50% gain. So I guess that's fair to say. However, he didn't adjust his own number for inflation, which, I think I just want to point out just to kind of make sure that we're keeping things standard. He is trying to mislead you. A lot of people like to view him as better than Jesus, of course, but we're not going to entertain bullshit like that. He does lie, just like the rest of them. But January 2017, which is when Trump took office, and by the way, I mean, this was such a spectacular term in terms of Bitcoin's growth. It did indeed rally up absolutely beautifully throughout 2017. And there was a lot of the 2021 rally that Trump captured as well, because this was Trump's last day. And Bitcoin did indeed go up by 3,900, 3,800%. Now, again, like I said, he did not adjust his own number for inflation, but I did that work for him. And if you do go ahead and adjust this for inflation, roughly speaking, using this US inflation calculator, which could be horribly wrong, I don't know, we did see a cumulative rate of inflation of 10.5% across the time period. If that is indeed going to be the case, or if it's anything similar to that, then Trump's number is still very, very impressive. It's still well above 3,000% gain in that time, even adjusted for inflation, which is absolutely great. The number could be off, it could be wildly off, but what doesn't matter is what doesn't change is the scale between the two presidents, because what is overwhelmingly clear is that Biden's administration has seen a lot more inflation, has led to a lot more inflation than Trump's administration. So, I do think that is a very, very important thing to point out. Was this dependent on Trump? I mean, I've said my piece on this many times. I don't think that this actually really had anything particularly massive to do with Trump. I think that, much more realistically than all of that, we are simply seeing that, if the US economy is strong, if the stock market is going up and so on and so forth, Bitcoin is doing well. And yes, Trump, maybe Trump was one of the factors that pushed that up. I don't want to get into that particular debate right now.
20, 30, and even 40% of the value of every dollar was wiped out, and wiped out quickly. You understood that, but a lot of other people didn't. The life savings of millions of Americans was rapidly destroyed, and very simply...
So he's talking about the early 2020s, the rampant inflation right after COVID. He's saying that the Bitcoin community understood that, the others didn't. He's right about that. I think the Bitcoin community actually understood that pretty well. So that's pretty cool. It's nice to get a bit of acknowledgement from this. Honestly, what I felt like a lot of this speech was it was literally like getting, finally, after years and years and years, finally getting praise from your father that never approved of anything you ever did. And now at the end, he's finally like, you were right the whole time. You did it, Biden. You spoke to him. You answered his question. You remember that funny thing that his wife was doing? Some of you American viewers are going to get that. He was really patting everybody on the back, giving them that like almost children treatment, which I thought was very, very interesting, just acknowledging all of our pains. The crypto community is a very emotional one. It really is. It's a very emotional one. It's one filled with desperation and hope. And so to get a little bit of that hope from your presidential candidate, I think is a very strong point that he's trying to push. And I think that's why Kamala has been trying to do the same thing as well.
Controlled inflation is a stealth taxation of the middle class. Rapidly destroyed.
This is huge.
And very simply, uncontrolled inflation is a stealth taxation of the middle class. It really is.
Uncontrolled inflation is a stealth taxation of the middle class. What a phenomenal quote. Absolutely brilliant. 100% correct. It is exactly what's happened. And of course, yes, the crypto community has indeed understood this for a while.
taxation. I call it the Biden tax. Now I call it the Harris tax or the Harris-Biden tax or whatever the hell we're going to call them. But it's a disaster. It's a tax of 50%. It's a 50% tax. Inflation, think of it. It's a 50% tax on people, 5-0. This is a human tragedy, and it's destroyed people. It's a national disgrace. It's destroyed everything in its way. It must never be allowed to happen again, and it won't. When I'm president, I guarantee you it won't happen because we're going to do things that make sure it doesn't happen. They've allowed pricing to get totally out of control. We're going to do $1.87 for a gallon of gasoline. You don't see that right now. For 4 straight years, under my leadership, we had effectively no inflation, none. When I left office, it was 1.4%, and then it stayed there for almost 2 years. Remember when Biden said it was not?
Yeah, so this is actually true. I mean, like I said, Trump's inflation, during his term wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good, and interest rates were looking good too. These things all got bad during Biden's administration. I think a big part of that was obviously due to the pandemic. A big part of that could have also been due to how badly the U.S. government ran everything during the pandemic and afterwards. So there's a couple different factors there, but yes, this is true.
I inherited 9%. That was just another lie. Misinformation, disinformation. We gave them a hot country. We went through the COVID. We did an incredible job. Never got credit for that. Always got credit for the economy, for the military. We rebuilt the military. We created Space Force. We did so many different things. Never got credit for that. You know what? We gave them a great country with essentially no inflation.
He is truly his own biggest fan, and I love that.
They drove inflation through the roof. 2 years, cost of living went up, in some cases by from our beautiful house. But we will end the war on American energy, and we will very simply drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We have to.
That's it. So here he's talking about all of the liquid oil, the liquid gold, the oil under the United States. He is talking about extracting that and actually saying that he's got a lot more than a lot of the other countries. So he's just going to be, using his executive powers to get more energy, get it cheaper, and so on. That's what we were talking about a little bit earlier on. He's just going to start talking about this.
We have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation in the world, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. We don't use it. We don't use it. They use it. We don't use it. We go out and buy oil from Venezuela. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually true, but if it is.
The United States will be the #1 lowest cost of energy and electricity of any nation on earth. We can make it so inexpensively. Because of
claims like this are big. I mean, again, for me, and this is, you've clearly seen that I'm kind of quite happy to stay on both sides here. For me, I'm just thinking, well, you were in office. If it's a big claim, mate. If you made that claim last time, you didn't do it. I don't know, why you'd make the same claim again and why everyone should believe you. But I think that's important because from a Bitcoin perspective, if energy costs are low, then yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's going to be a lot more competitive to mine in the US. But will that actually happen? I don't know.
We have under our feet. We can make it so inexpensively, and with low energy costs, America will become the world's undisputed Bitcoin mining powerhouse. You'll be a Bitcoin mining powerhouse. You will not have to move your family to China. You will not be moving to China. As we implement these reforms, Bitcoin and crypto will grow our economy, cement American financial dominance, and strengthen our entire country long into the future. Many Americans do not realize that the United States government is among the largest holders of Bitcoin. Does anyone know that?
Yeah, so that's obviously super interesting that the American government is among the largest holders. I think that there's a lot more, probably just in terms of seized assets as well. But yeah, in terms of Bitcoin, mining coming back to America, that'd be a big deal. That'd actually be pretty important. And I hope that he's had some even security advisors tell him about the importance of that because this could turn out to be a currency that people actually use. So it is important to, not have that all in the hands of people that, are against your country.
For too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart. Never sell your Bitcoin, right?
This is brilliant. This is brilliant.
That's right, isn't it, huh? That's right. How did I figure that one? Never sell your Bitcoin. And so, as the final part of my plan today, I am announcing...
Hey guys, just while he was saying this, if we come back to Bitcoin's price, that corresponded with, I believe it was this pump here, when he said never sell your Bitcoin. You can go ahead and check this on your own, but that was quite fantastic.
That if I am elected, it will be the policy of my administration, United States of America, to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires into the future. We'll keep 100%. I hope you do well, please. This will serve in effect as the core of the strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. As you know...
There you go. So that's something that was rumored for quite a while. This is a big deal. I mean, you've got a government potentially saying that they're going to be holding on to an asset. The only thing better than somebody not selling an asset is that they haven't bought the asset yet. A lot of you guys need to start, framing these things differently in your head, and I'm going to help you with that. That's no problem at all. An asset is most exciting before everybody has clicked buy. Okay, it's most exciting before everyone's clicked buy because that is buying pressure that can come in and send the market higher. But when people have already clicked buy, you really want to make sure that they don't press sell. Okay, because the more they press sell, the more the price goes down. Very, very important stuff. Basic stuff. But by Trump mentioning here that they might not actually be selling their crypto for a long time, selling their Bitcoin specifically for a long time, then yeah, you are talking about a lot of supply getting locked up, which is the best thing that can happen to price. The second best thing, the best thing that can happen to price is that people buy. But I do think that's very, very important. And more importantly, I think that actually opens up a lot of phenomenal trading opportunities for us, because if we're looking to potentially just kind of buy above Bitcoin's all-time high, hoping for a kind of big rally here, I think that kind of trade setup is really opening up to become much more exciting at this stage now, especially after this kind of speech. And, it's going to be interesting to see what the Kamala Harris administration is going to be trying to say, or whoever else becomes Democratic president nominee. But if everyone's going to be talking favorable about crypto, then yeah, I think it's fairly safe to say that a new all-time high can result in much higher price action. So this never sell sentiment, definitely very interesting. And in terms of trading opportunities, absolutely great. Like I said, ladies and gents, on the note of trading opportunities, you've got Blowfin linked below, which is a phenomenal exchange to be taken advantage of in this market here. They are a no KYC platform. A lot of the others that are no KYC are not places that you particularly want to be trading on. A lot of them kind of white label the tech and stuff like that, but Blowfin stands on its own, which is fantastic. They've built some pretty impressive tech. If we just kind of take a quick stroll through their website, very well put together website, very good volume here. We've got 5 billion on Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. I mean, this is absolutely huge. And by the way, that's not even up to date, but oh yeah, it is, my bad, 5 billion there. Super cool indeed. You've got 2 billion on Ethereum, so it's super liquid as usual. Tons and tons of rewards when you start trading using my link below. But of course, please continue to be mindful of your country's local regulations so you don't get in trouble for doing any of this stuff.
Most of the Bitcoin currently held by the United States government was obtained through law enforcement action. You know that they took it from you. Let's take that guy's life. Let's take his family, his house, his Bitcoin. We'll turn it into Bitcoin. It's been taken away from you because that's where we're going now. That's where this country is going. It's a fascist regime. And so as I take steps to transform that vast wealth into a permanent national asset to benefit all Americans, today I repeat my pledge to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served. It's enough. America always plants our flag on the next frontier and pushes boldly ahead. We have to do that. We haven't been doing that for a long time, especially the last 3.5 years. It's gone the exact opposite. Those of you in this room inherit the legacy of generations of American pioneers and patriots, risk takers and renegades.
But that is pretty much all for Trump's Bitcoin conference there. There was a lot of waffle in between. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't even super related, but there were some very interesting things that Trump spoke about. Some things were, kind of a little bit misleading. Some things were actually very, very true. Overall, kind of which president's going to be better for crypto, you decide. You're going to be seeing a lot about that in the next couple of weeks and months, probably. But for Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price, I think Bitcoin's happy with Trump's speech. I mean, it was definitely a nice pump right after Trump's speech as well, which is always fantastic to see. It's put Bitcoin in a very good place. We are just kind of in the middle of a very strong price zone here, and potentially looking to travel on higher. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think that there's going to be a lot more to unpack later on, but if you have enjoyed this one so far, which is a very different type of video to what I usually do me a favor and smash up those likes once again if you haven't done so already, and double check that you are subscribed to this YouTube channel. There's so much more that I want to go through with you over the next days with this Bitcoin price action and even the Trump news if you guys are interested. Like I said, a bit of a different one. Let me know what you thought about it, all of it, in the comment section down below, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.